Hey everybody, it's James. This is the Comedypreneur Show, and today I have an amazing guest for you. He's the smartest guy I know. He's taught me so much. He's been a mentor to me, been super helpful, probably has changed my life, honestly. And he is coming today to talk to us about writing, about filmmaking, about making commercials. He's just like, he's the guy. Like, if I would never have met Brian, I don't know where I'd be in my writing career. He really stepped it up and really brought a lot to me. So I wanted to share him with you guys because honestly, if you want to meet a guy who can do anything, like the moment he puts his mind to it, this is the guy. So please give it up for my very funny, very smart, very cool friend, Mr. Brian Adams.
Brian? Thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction, James. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't know what I have to offer, but whatever, little tidbits I have, I'm happy to share with anybody. And I'm just so, happy for you and proud of everything you have been doing. You're out there hustling every day and you're making it work, man. So kudos to you. You're doing it because you're doing it every day. You're making it happen. So good job.
I learned a lot of hustle from you, Sarah. You always put me to work. This is the guy that gave me my break on a film set. Said, "Hey, come work on this commercial." And I learned so much on commercial sets. I think everybody in the world should have to go work on a commercial set for one day.
It's good training, for sure.
It will make you learn to hustle. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Experiences of my life. So, kind of give us your origin story, and kind of tell us how you got into writing.
Well, yeah. Well, I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger was asked one time how to get into politics. And he said, move to the United States, go to community college, and marry a Kennedy. And that's my origin story is similar to that. I mean, my plan was dabble in writing, major in accounting, and then marry Leanne. So I had the very good fortune of marrying a brilliant writer and incredible person. And she's taught me everything I know about writing. So that's really the secret to my success. Let me take this back. Can we pause for 1 second? So I was going into that whole back.
All right. So how did you and Leanne start writing together? So she was a writer, you were an accounting major. How did you kind of merge those two things together? Because that doesn't sound like a combo that becomes then our writing couple. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Well, Leanne is one of those people who knew what she wanted to do from the time she was like 10 or 11 years old. And she's been doing it ever since. She always wanted to be a writer. And when I met her, well, let me back up. She had a lot of success actually as a teenager writing. She won an award, the national award through the Sundance Institute at Sundance in Utah. And it was a national award, and she got to go up there and meet Robert Redford. And then she actually went back several summers to work for the Playwrights Lab at Sundance. And then when I met her, she was doing her master's degree. I was doing my undergrad. And she actually had two plays produced while we were in college. And one of them, Archipelago, was submitted to Kennedy, a National Kennedy Senator Award, and she won that award. And through that, she got that play Archipelago published, and it's still done, multiple times a year all over the country. And so she was a writer for the stage, and she said, "I want to also write for film and television. How do I do that?" And I knew very little, but the one gift that I've been given is, I can get out and hustle. I can make phone calls. I can, try and make things happen. And so I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about that business. All I know is you need an agent. So I'll try and get you an agent. And actually I looked up, I think I went to the library. It was that long ago. And I found this list of Hollywood agents, and it had like the top 20 agencies, and the first one was CAA, and it had Richard Lovett's name and his phone number. I'm like, well, I'll start there. And so I just started cold calling, trying to get her an agent. I didn't get her Richard Lovett to represent her, but I did get her an agent. This was probably 15 years ago, a long time ago. And anyway, through that, the agent and I sort of developed a relationship And then Leanne and I came up with an idea together that this is not our current agent. This is a few agents ago. But we pitched it to the guy. He liked it. And at that time I was just trying to help out Leanne. I had no real ambition to be a writer. But, I contributed quite a bit. And then I even wrote some stuff, and she's like, well, you should get credit on this, a spec script. I'm like, credit on a movie? Are you kidding? And so she sort of invited me into the process. And then, we've been working together. I think it's been about 13 years now. And now we do everything together. And I don't know how else people do it besides being writing partners with their wife.
That's cool. Is it hard to be a writing partner with your spouse? Do you think it would be easier if it was someone that wasn't your spouse? Or do you think it'd be harder?
Like I say, I only have my own experience to draw from, but I don't know how you could be a writing partner with someone who's not your spouse, honestly. In our experience, it's such a, it's an intimate relationship, honestly. I mean, we go through a lot of ups and downs together, through all these years. We've had a lot of great times, a lot of horrible, devastating times, a lot of heartbreak. And we spend a ton of time together. So if I were writing partner with someone else, I think my wife would be jealous. But for us, it works out, and but that's the only experience I've ever had.
Right, because we know Cinco Paul and Ken Dario, right? And they're a writing team, and so that's always thing is like, those are two different dynamics,
Yeah, exactly. And Cinco and Ken have been so kind to Leanne and me. They were sort of our mentors when we got started, and they were much more helpful and patient with us than they should have been. And I've seen the dynamic they have, and I totally admire and respect that. But I've only been a writing partner with my wife, and I don't know how to do it other than that.
What's the hardest part of being a screenwriter? What is the hardest part of that whole process for you?
Oh man, everything's hard. There's no easy part. You should ask what's the easiest part, because I don't think there is. And honestly, from the very beginning, it's a grind. It's a very difficult, very competitive. We had a manager who used to say it's a 99% no business, and that's 100% true. So it's difficult in the beginning to get an agent. It's difficult once you have an agent to get a job. It's difficult once you have a job to, keep those people happy. It's really difficult, once you're actually producing something and once you're working with other producers who hire you, it's difficult to in a collaborative form, keep people happy while protecting the integrity of the work. And then once you are actually producing stuff, it's really difficult to manage the budget constraints that, I don't care if you're on Game of Thrones, there are budget constraints, and at some point they're going to say, no, you can't have 10,000 horses, you can only have 9,000 horses, but my dream is to have 10,000 horses. At some point you have to live with the realities of the budget. And so that's really difficult we have this saying, we have to protect the magic. And so it's very difficult for us on our show or on anything else we're doing to protect the magic while also living in the real world of, finite budgets. We only have so much money to make this stuff, and so making those compromises while keeping the integrity of the work is really difficult. And in my case, fighting for what I believe in, which is sometimes in contradiction to what Leanne believes in, while still maintaining our marriage, is really difficult too. And raising our kids together. I haven't seen any part of this that's easy yet. So it's all difficult. And if you don't expect it to be difficult, you're in the wrong freaking business.
That's true. So you guys write commercials, TV, and feature films.
Yeah.
Wow. Secondly, what's the major differences in all three of those, or is there similarities that run across them that make them all, once you know one, you can kind of do all of them, or what's the pros and cons of that?
It's a great question. When we got into this, we started our only focus was on writing feature films. That was all we wanted to do, and we approached it that way. As that was back again a long time ago now, back when features were sort of the brass ring and TV was sort of the stepchild, and we always thought television is beneath us. But then obviously the platinum age of television, TV happened, and there were a lot more opportunities in television. So we started, like everyone, being sort of lured into the television business, but we always viewed that as separate. We had our film and television writing over here. And then for a long time, I had a day job, which is like how we paid our bills for, a decade. But then eventually, I started a commercial production business, which is a whole long story for another episode. But once we had that, I viewed it as totally different. In fact, in the beginning, Leanne wasn't even involved in the commercial business. And, we were doing the writing for TV and film together over here. And then I was doing, producing television commercials. But very quickly, out of necessity, we would get a job or have a chance to bid on a job that needed some creative. And kind of as I organically fit into her, writing world, she sort of organically fit into my, producing world, because we talk all the time, and we come up with ideas together. And, as we did, I was like, oh, that's genius. Why don't you come to this meeting and tell them that? And so it was not by design. It just sort of happened. And looking back, I can't believe I didn't see how much of a benefit Leanne would be to the commercial, to the commercial company that I started. But honestly, I didn't. And as that continued to develop, she became, our creative director of our company, Sovereign Media. And, so I don't even know what the question was. I was talking for a long time. So I think you're asking, did you ask like what sort of similarities
what
there
kind
are?
of crosses over and what doesn't,
Okay.
or does it cross over at all?
It does. And I think there's lots of, whether we're trying to create a script for a commercial or a television show or a feature, there's lots of spitballing. So Leanne and I, that's a big part of our process. We actually go on really long walks together. We walked like almost 5 miles today working on a project. And we talk about the problem, and we go through that together. And so no matter what the project is, it starts with that spitballing. We also do a lot of ideations, which is this long process that we learned of it's kind of like a brainstorming way that we learn to create ideas. So no matter what the project is, we start with that. And then also with every project, once we have an idea, we have to go pitch it to somebody. And the pitching process is actually pretty similar. In fact, it's funny. We've learned a lot of things in pitching commercials, to clients or agencies that we've sort of incorporated into our film and television business. That it's a little bit different the way we do that. It's been very, very successful, because we had some success pitching commercials. We're like, we should just do that when we go pitch TV shows or whatever. And so so the process, there's a lot of similarities, but then of course once you actually get into it, a commercial is 30 seconds long and a movie is 2 hours long. So so that the grind of actually creating it is a lot different. But there's I've been really amazed and surprised how much crossover there is.
That's cool. So you did talk about spitballing and all that stuff. Do you have a process that you guys go through besides the spitballing? Like after you have the idea, the ideation, you go through that, what's your process for creating the outline for any of those projects? Let's just specifically go to your TV show and kind of tell people about that, how that came about.
How it came about, or our process for doing that?
Kind of both.
Yeah. So the process begins with our writer's room and on the television show, Dwight in Shining Armor. I guess we should put that out there. You can watch it on BYU TV, download the app. The process starts with our writer's room. We have an unconventional writer's room. Again, we sort of did this out of necessity. It turns out we found out later that other people are doing it. They're called mini rooms. So we don't have a staff of writers that come into the office every day and are paid a weekly. We have a group of writers who come together usually like 2 times a year, or once or twice a season, and we have a big brain spark ideation process with them, and Leanne and I will talk the writers through where we've been so far, where we expect to go, and how we need what we need to do to get there. And so that's a multi-day process that probably we could talk about. Some of that. I don't want to bore everyone with all the details of that. And then usually a season is 10 episodes. Once we have the 10 episodes on a high level of what we what we want them to be, maybe just starting with a log line and a sort of season arc, for each character and for the larger story. Then we divvy them up. We sometimes give them to a writer to write, or Leanne and I will divvy them up. Either I'll start an episode or she'll start an episode, or we'll sort of swap back and forth with scenes. But we usually, actually, I have one right here. It's not a very formal outline, but we basically will just write up kind of like a beat sheet. And this is the episode I happen to be working on right now. And so we have the stuff that, this is like a 1-page beat sheet, have the things that we need to cover. And, so then I'll just start writing it. And then we talk a lot. Again, like I was writing this episode and I got sort of stuck on something. So we went on a walk, or she came down to my office and, chatted. But it's not a formal outline process. We've gone through lots of different iterations of that. But what we found now is just like a 1-page little beat sheet is what helps us the most. And we go from there.
Is that the beat sheet, like the Save the Cat kind of beat sheet, or do you guys have your kind of own version of that?
I read Save the Cat, and I actually really like that book. I know it's controversial in a lot of circles, but I thought it was very helpful. And we definitely, after we read that book, which has been many years ago now, we did use that beat sheet for a while. This is a much less formal. I mean, this is like, this says, Clodwig is running low on gold and needs money, and so it's not beat by beat like that Blake Snyder beat sheet was, but it just has the information. Then we just start pounding away and see where we go from there.
Now, how long does it take for you to from the ideation and kind of the outline phase to write a complete episode? Like, how long does that take?
That's a great question as well. It depends. We've been in some bad situations. There was, I think, in season 1 or 2, we were shooting season 1 and 2 basically together, but we got in a situation where we had to move an episode, and we had nothing to shoot like next week. And so we came up with the idea and we crammed it out in like 3 days. It might have been 2. That one was called Switcheroo. That was the one we did. That was the one we wrote the quickest. In general, we would love to have, it's a half-hour show. The scripts are usually 27 or 28 pages. And ideally, we would love to have 2 weeks. We almost never get that, except now with the coronavirus lockdown. We have all the time in the world. Under normal circumstances, we don't usually get 2 weeks. It's more, like 4 days is a really tight schedule to go from like this kind of 1-page beat sheet to a script that we can turn into the network. So 4 days is the shortest, besides that one exception. 2 weeks is the longest. Usually it's somewhere in between there, depending on what else is going on.
Now, when you do that, do you have like a page count? Like I have to do 5 pages a day, or because I set page counts for myself.
Yeah, and I know that's also controversial, because some people don't like that. I'm trying to remember this quote. Well, let me back up and answer your question. Yes, usually the page count is like 5 pages, 4 or 5 pages a day, depending, and we just keep going until we get that. And sometimes, obviously, it's a lot more. Sometimes it's as much as 7 or 8 pages a day, depending on how it goes. But I remember Johnny Carson. You can cut this later if you want. This gets way back, but Johnny Carson interviewed 2 different writers, and I just happened to see these. One, he interviewed Truman Capote, and Truman Capote said, "I only write when I'm inspired, and I only write for as long as I'm inspired. And sometimes, that's just 1 word a day, but it's the right word." I'm like, okay, that's an approach. He also interviewed Arthur C. Clarke, and he said something similar. It was basically, I only write when I'm inspired, and I make sure that I'm sitting at my desk at 8 o'clock in the morning and inspired every day. And that we are sort of in the Arthur C. Clarke camp. Like we have deadlines to meet. We don't have time for a bunch of, I don't know. I hate to say this because this is controversial, but we don't have time for writer's block. Honestly, it's like, okay, have a writer's block if you want to, but you still have to freaking get your page count done, and we're still going to produce the episode in 2 weeks, so it better be freaking good. So luckily for us, in most cases, the pressure of the deadlines just sort of, makes us keep grinding.
It's awesome. If someone's looking to start being a writer, they want to write for a TV show or they want to write stuff, what would be your biggest piece of advice there? And how would they like reach out to find mentors? Like, I happen to be lucky enough to know you. Like, that's,
Right.
the universe put us together, that kind of thing. But there are a
Right.
lot of people that don't have that luck or that situation. What would you recommend to them?
Wow. There's so many different ways to go about it. And again, my story is so bizarre. Since Leanne is already married, you can't just start by marrying Leanne. Looking back, I wish I would have known the sort of standard process for this is get a job as a PA, or get a job as an intern at an agency. That sort of, and then you start, those jobs are obviously difficult to get, but they're possible to get, right? And I wish I would have known something like that when I got started. So I'm just going to turn off these monitors. They're bugging me. Backing up. So I wish I would have known what the normal process is about, get a job as a PA or get a job as an intern at an agency. And that way you go about putting yourself in the path of people who might be able to help you in the future. So that's not what I did. What I did do, which is kind of an untapped resource that I stumbled upon, is attorneys of all kinds. It's difficult if you want to get an agent, or even if you want to get a job as an intern at an agency. It's really competitive. It's really difficult. And if you don't happen to know someone who works at, UTA, it's going to be tricky. But attorneys will talk to almost anyone. Attorneys pick up the phone because they get paid by the hour. So you could call, you may not know an entertainment attorney, but you probably know an attorney of some kind, or your mom or your dad may know a bankruptcy attorney or a divorce attorney, and you call them. And the thing that I found is every attorney went to law school with someone who is an entertainment attorney now. And so if you chat with your mom's friend who is a tax attorney, and that person will take your call because they know your mom and they're an attorney, and they'll take your call and you'll say, I'm really looking to find an entertainment attorney. Then they will introduce you to their friend from law school who became an entertainment attorney. And the entertainment attorneys will also, even though they don't generally get paid by the hour, they're a lot easier to get into than, say, CAA. So if you call some entertainment attorney and say, hey, I'm a writer, I've got this thing, blah, 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 would you be willing to meet me for lunch or coffee, or could I come in and, it's a little bit backdoor method. And then if you make a good relationship with that attorney, then it's a lot easier for that attorney who deals with the agents at CAA or ICM or wherever to say, hey, I met this young writer, that writer's unproduced or whatever, but would you be willing to chat with them? And then that just helps you sort of break away from the field, because if an entertainment attorney that the agent works with or the manager works with all the time says, would you meet with this person, you're much more likely to get in the door. So we did stuff like that when we were trying to get our first agent.
I would have never even thought about that. That's so genius. You're a genius. You're genius.
It just, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, as they say. I have no idea how that came to me.
So then, on that same note, once you get those contacts, how do you kind of keep in touch with them and let them know what you're looking for, or what you're trying to do, or the things that you're doing, without coming off as like needy or a jerk or overbearing? Because that happens. A lot of writers, a lot of people, they're like, hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with this? It's just over and over and over. And it gets annoying.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh, I can't deal with that person anymore.
It does. And now that we're in a situation where people are trying to contact us, I've felt that, and there are some people whom I would like to be nice to, but I got a lot of crap going on and I can't do everything. So you're right. You don't want to cross over that line where you become a pest or annoying. However, I hate to say, I hate to say this, but it kind of goes back to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read that book, you probably should, despite the ridiculously bad title. It's an incredible book. And I think the lessons taught there of being genuinely interested in people, sincerely listening to what they're saying and finding out what they like and getting them to talk about their stuff. And they say something, obviously you can take all this stuff too far and be creepy on the other end. But if they say something like, oh, I'm a big Dodgers fan. And then you see something on the internet where, Kershaw just re-upped his contract. You could send a little email or a text and say, hey, congrats, go Dodgers. I think just remembering that they're into that, or again, you can take this too far without, and be stalking them or creepy, you don't want to go that far, but if it's genuine, when they say my kid plays water polo, you can say, oh my gosh, I found this cool thing, and you just keep in touch, and it's more about stuff they're interested in, and then they get to say like, oh, they go to their kid's water polo coach and say, found this article about water polo, that sort of thing. You make them look good, and as long as you don't take it too far and be weird or creepy about it, I think that's a good way to do it. Also, from time to time, when you have something cool to update them about, like a lot of times with our clients, I will, if we produce some really cool commercial, I'll send it to them and say, wow, I thought you might like to see this new commercial we produced for GMC. We're really proud of it. We'd love to, just wanted to keep you in the loop. Something not that you're not asking anything, but you're just sort of keeping at the top of their list or at the top of their mind. Another thing that some people have done, all of this stuff you can take too far, but there's one director that I've made friends with that he would like to do some work with us. And from time to time, he just sends me funny little memes, especially in this coronavirus lockdown. And he's actually makes me look good, because then I send those memes out to someone else. So I like that, because he's, without crossing the line, just sort of sends out a meme. And that just kind of keeps him on my radar. And I have sort of good feelings towards him, because he sends me funny stuff that then I send on. Those are just some ideas, but you're right. It's tricky not to cross that line and become a pest.
Yeah. So if someone was starting out as a writer today, and that you could only give them one tip, one thing, this is the thing to do to be successful, and it can't be Mary Leanne, because you already did that.
Already done.
Already done, sir. So what would that one tip be? Like, someone came to you and said, hey, Brian, I really want to be a writer. I want to write for TV, television, whatever it is. What should I do? What can I do?
The one thing is,
go
do it. Start today. Get out your, write a script, write a 5-minute script, get out your cell phone, go shoot it. I mean, obviously it's difficult to make your own movie or make your own TV show, but the reality is we all walk around with HD cameras in our freaking pocket right now. And so write a script, make sure it's funny, meet some of your buddies, convince them to be in your little short, because you're going to be in their short later, and you've got to reciprocate. And then go make that, make that short, post it on YouTube, try and get people to share it. And then you have something for those, that entertainment attorney you met, say like, hey, I thought you'd like to see this, this short that I just made. It better be freaking good. I mean, if it sucks, you're in trouble on many levels. But if you make a good short that's, 2.5, 5, 7.5 minutes long, people watch that. Same thing with an agent. That agent that the attorney introduced you to, you can say, hey, I just made this short. So the advice is go do it. Start today. Turn off the freaking, turn off this interview and go do it right now. And there's no other way but to get going and make it happen.
Now, you said make it funny. Is there a reason why you would say make it funny as opposed to make it dramatic or make it whatever?
No. Good point. If you want to be in, this is a comedypreneur show. If they're comedians, it better be funny. If it's a horror show, it better be freaking scary. Whatever it is, it better be good. And so if it's good, people will overlook the fact that you did this on your iPhone or whatever. If the characters work, if the dialogue is crisp and pulls people in and is well written, people will overlook all the rest of it. And then when that agent needs a young writer for a writer's room that they know of, they won't be embarrassed to put you up because you have a work sample. And of course you have to write spec scripts, and if the show, whatever kind of show you want to be on, you should write a spec script for that show, or you should write a spec script that is in the vein of that show, so that agent has something to send out for you. Because I mean, you're really doing the agent a great favor if you give them some reason that they can even possibly get you a job. They want to do that. I mean, they don't get paid if they don't get people jobs. So you're helping them, but it has to be good. I mean, it reflects really poorly on them if what you have isn't good. So you should have your own little network of people that you can send it to. who will be honest with you, and whom you will need to be honest with later to say, like, you know what, I really like this part. It sucks. You should change it. And so you have to develop that little network of people. And those are the people that you meet at PA jobs, or whatever. Those people are also trying to work their way up the ladder. They know how to, hopefully that you'll develop a network of people to, who will be your feedback group, right? And they should give you honest feedback. And all of this stuff is like ancient history. I'm sure there's because, I didn't start this business with like the internet. So I'm sure there's a million places online where you can sync up with people and develop your network that way. You probably know a lot better than I would about that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, also having a mentor, having somebody that's willing to read your stuff is a big deal. I mean, you've given me plenty of feedback on things I've written and been honest, like, hey, this isn't working, or this doesn't work this way, or that's not
right.
And that's, I'm sure when the moment that you're writing that down, or you're getting ready to give that feedback to me, you're like, should I say it? Because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but at the same time, it's like, James not going to get better if I don't tell him the truth. If I just pat him on the back and say, good job, buddy, like, he's never going to get better, And so you want people who are being honest with you.
It is the truth, and it's difficult to do that. It's also difficult to find the time when you have pressing deadlines on other things to read someone's script. But I do look at it as a responsibility, because, like I said, people read our scripts when we were just starting out and were inordinately nice. On the other hand, we've had to say no sometimes, because we're in the position now where lots of people approach us about reading their stuff, and it gets to the point where if I said yes to everyone, I would do nothing but read people's scripts and give feedback. So it does and you have to balance that for the person asking for those favor. By the time you send it to like your mentor, it better be damn good. And they better be able to say, this is awesome. You better have a lot of confidence in it, because you don't want to waste their time sending them something that's frustrating. It's frustrating to read something that's crappy, and like you say, then it puts them in a bad situation to say, like, I don't know how to tell them this is crap. So it should be good before it goes to the mentor kind of level.
Perfect. And last thing, where can people find you? Where can they find your work so that they can kind of see what you guys do? Because you guys do great work. You do some of the best stuff. Like, your commercials are top notch. Your TV show is amazing. Actually, I haven't seen any of your movies, so that's on me. That's my bad. Now we need to share that with the world, and I need to go watch them. That's not fair.
Right. So there are a few places. Obviously, the main thing that we are promoting right now is our TV show, Dwight in Shining Armor, which Leanne and I created, and we're the showrunners on. You can watch it on byutv.org/Dwight. You can watch actually the first 2.5 seasons there for free. If you just I think you have to download an app, or it's also available on Roku and on Apple TV, and it's also available in 60 million homes on cable. If you're one of those few people who still have cable, BYU TV is the name of the station, and it's airing around the world. Paramount Television distributes it around the world. So if you're in France or Belgium, you probably can't understand what I'm saying right now, but if you are, or New Zealand or Canada, it's on different stations. So just Google Dwight in Shining Armor. That's the number one thing. We're so proud of that show. We'd love for people to check it out and then share it with their friends. We have a movie called Saving Zoe, which is currently on Netflix. You can check that out. A lot of our commercial work is up on our production company's website. The production company is called Sovereign Media. The website is smla.tv, like Sovereign Media Los Angeles .television. You can see a bunch of our commercials if you're if you're interested. And that's about it. Oh, and Instagram. My handle, I think, is Brian_J_Adams at Instagram. So
you're on the gram?
That's to keep you busy. I'm on the gram.
Oh, man. That's crazy. Next is TikTok for you.
I'm not there yet. Too old.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian, for taking time out of your day. I know you guys are working hard. I appreciate it. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, James, for having us.
No problem.